Next level. Next level.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? I just made it here in time, so for anyone who put a comment or question in the chat, I'll jump over to that in just a second. I want to welcome everyone else to the Monday afternoon Tech Hangout live stream. It looks like our live stream health is bad, but I don't know if that means anything, because usually what YouTube tells me and what you see are two different things. So I don't know. We'll hang in here, and you guys let me know if anything's laggy or out of sync or my microphone stops working for some strange reason. Today we have some interesting topics to discuss. One, why the iPad will not replace your computer, and that told to us by an executive at Apple, no less. So shocker there, right? Kind of had some theories on why they wanted to keep things that way. The Rogue phone, I'm going to call it the Rogue phone. That sounds better, right? Feels so good. It's like you're cheating when you play games on this thing. So they're saying Sprint said to be throttling Skype. Big shocker there. We all knew this was happening. No more net neutrality. Pretty soon your ISP or phone carrier can tell you what you can watch when and at what speed and how much more it's going to cost you to access the content that you want, because, well, we don't have laws protecting us from that anymore. No more selling your iPhone on Amazon after January 4th. That's right. If you want to sell your iPhone on Amazon, you better do it now, because they're going to be cracking down on that and blocking out, allegedly, everyone who is not an authorized Apple reseller. Interesting how these things just kind of happen gradually, right? Samsung's foldable phone and its price tag, which I suspect, a lot of people have been saying is just something they're doing to try to get attention, or are people really going to buy this thing? at what they're trying to sell it for, we got to question what's going to happen with this thing. And the Foxconn deal in Wisconsin ends up not really being such a great deal for us after all. Big shocker there. Again, you know, that's politics. Anyways, we'll get to it right after this. And my intro's gone, so we'll get to it right now. I see we got Sidhu. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Greg M, what's happening? Johnny Chang, Oscar Zarza. Hey guys, regarding the questions you put in the chat, let's just go ahead and do this so you can see. Where's my chat? I kind of knew this was going to happen. It should show up here in just a second. Let's give it a moment. Things are acting funny here today. We'll go back here and then back here. No, nothing. Let's hide the chat and bring it back. Let's see if that happens. This is so irritating. You know what it was is I did some live repairs last week, and that seems to have changed some things. So let's see if maybe I need to change the URL for the chat. Does this work? I have no chat. That's a bummer. There it is. Okay, so weird how that happens. In any case, we'll go ahead and jump right in here after a couple comments. I have a new SE. I bought something small, cool. You know, I gotta say, I went from an 8 Plus back to my 7, and I've realized I'm not a fan of carrying around a big bulky phone in my pocket. I know the big screens are a thing, but unless you're watching a movie or something, I don't know, to me, I can't justify having to lug around something that's so heavy that it's literally the difference between having to wear a belt or not, because it adds so much weight to your pocket. So yeah, I'm in favor of the smaller handsets. In fact, I mean, the SE, they nailed it on fitting into your hand, but the screen size is a little tough when it comes to texting, in my humble opinion. Everything in California, Johnny Chang, not so great at the moment. Obviously, a lot of people affected by that fire. Right now, the body count is at like 31, which is really sad. You know, obviously, that's the worst thing, is there has been loss of human life. Lots of property destruction. There's an entire town that's pretty much gone. And on top of that, you know, that's bad enough. On top of that, we're getting some really bad air quality. So they're telling people not to go outside and exercise. And it's going to be like that at least until Friday this week in my area. I know there's a lot of other areas, and also in Southern California where they're having some problems. And what's even worse than, you know, on top of all this stuff, is that they're kind of predicting that this is going to happen more often, more frequently in the future because of climate change and because of population growth. So yeah, it's really pretty bad right now. I'm not, we haven't been evacuated here. Obviously, we're pretty far from it, but for people who are, this is, you know, it's really a terrible thing to happen, and it's going to interrupt lots of people's lives and their livelihoods. And, you know, a lot of people lost their homes and people that they cared about. So I don't want to dwell on that too much, but yeah, it's kind of bad, Johnny. Unfortunately, hope this time Verizon gives priority to public safety instead of marketing. Well, they would be wise to do so, especially after last time. I have yet to see a computer going down the toilet. That is a good call. Hey, what's up, John Cassidy? How are you? Yeah, I wanted to get into that one right now because I think this is kind of funny. So it's ironic. It says a top Apple executive unwittingly provided a perfect explanation for why the iPad is a bad computer replacement. And I think a lot of us have had a theory for quite some time right now, and that is why, you know, the question is this: why don't you have a touchscreen on your MacBook, whether it's Pro, Air, whatever it is? You know, none of the MacBook lineup has a touchscreen where everything is going to touchscreen nowadays. And one might think that there's a good possibility that creating a laptop with a touchscreen would pretty much cannibalize your tablet market. So if you want to continue selling iPads, it wouldn't make sense to make a MacBook that has a touchscreen built in, because then what do you need an iPad for anymore, right? And on the other hand, we've seen a lot of advertising that focuses on the productivity features that are being included in iPads. So they've changed a lot of things, and they're trying to kind of push this as a replacement for a computer while at the same time continuing to sell computers. So, you know, probably a little conflict between those two departments at Apple. And if you remember, there's a commercial where they show a kid playing with a tablet, and somebody walks up and says, "Hey, what are you doing on your computer?" And the kid says, "What's a computer?" Like, they don't even know, because computers like so passé at this point. Well, this person, what is his name? Justin Sullivan, it looks like, stepped up and made a comment about why they don't have, okay, let's pause that, about why there's no touchscreen on a MacBook. And let me get to the actual quote here. What he said is that we really feel the ergonomics of using a Mac are that your hands are rested on a surface and that lifting your arm up to poke a screen is a pretty fatiguing thing to do. So that makes sense, right? I mean, if you're looking at a tablet and you have to reach all the way up to the area that you're looking at in order to type, there's not going to be a very good spot that you can put that in. I mean, obviously, the easy answer is get an external keyboard, right? But at that point, if you've got a keyboard and a mouse and a tablet, why not just buy a computer? Because then everything's just kind of built together. And with a company like Apple, who kind of prides themselves on making things all-inclusive, you know, the idea is that when you buy something, it's got everything there, it works together smoothly, and you don't have to buy extra stuff, except for dongles and USB cables and whatever else headphone adapters and, you know, things like that. But for the most part, the idea is presented that if you buy this device, it's going to get everything done for you. And now we're seeing that, you know, there's some conflict here, I think. And it makes sense. You know, this has been kind of another issue that I have with tablets. You know, one, not having a physical keyboard, but the fact that the keyboard is on the surface that you're looking at. So you don't really want a tablet laying face up on your desk because you don't really get a good viewing angle that way. You want it up in front of you so that your neck's not staring down. You know, you don't start developing problems with your posture and your spine and your eyes and everything else. So you want that screen right in front of your face. But then to have to type like that, if you can imagine, you know, reaching up and typing on your actual computer screen doesn't make a lot of sense. And it's funny that he said that because that right there is going to tell us why the iPad can't replace your computer for most people. Now, I'm sure there are some people, you know, some out there are going to say, no, I have no problem with it. I use it like that. This is what I do. I don't want to carry around a computer. I don't want to pay for one. I don't like the hinge. I can think of a multitude of reasons. But I can certainly say from, in my experience, there's not a lot of things that I can do on a tablet that I do on my computer. That's why I use a desktop or a laptop. I guess it just really depends on the person. But good, that's a good point, Johnny. Nobody's going to drop their tablet or their computer in the toilet. I don't think too many people would. Maybe in a bathtub or something, right? Hey, Dave Hammerton, how are you? You know, it's funny, I was going through the comments last week and I didn't even notice you in the stream until after the fact. So I hope you're doing well. I caught you this time. It's so crazy because usually the comments are flying by a little faster and I can keep up with them. But good to see you. Unless it's a refurbished product that someone is selling as refurbished on Amazon, they will be banned in 2 months unless you buy a 2.5 million a quarter in price. Yeah, I'm going to get to that one. That's ridiculous. Harvey, how's it going? I did. In fact, you know, I was tentatively going to unbox it today, but I'm going to have to hold that over till Thursday. And I literally haven't even opened it yet. So I wanted to do an actual unboxing Thursday evening, show what's in there and check it out and just my first impression. So thank you for that. I do have it. It arrived safely, but I'll be opening that up in a couple of days. Nate, what's going on? You're usually first, man. What happened? I was watching Jason complain about getting crappy jobs. Okay. Oh, yeah. Well, there's certainly no lack of that in this business, right? So let's move on here, everyone. We have this killer gaming phone. Whoops, I skipped to the spoiler alert there. So if you haven't seen this already, last year we had the Razer phone that came out and it was kind of aimed at the gaming market. And I believe that this is a niche that, you know, could potentially do well, but at the same time, most of the reactions I hear from people who game is that it's just not the same on the phone. My understanding is that in other markets, especially in Asia, it's much more popular, you know, and we all, if you're not in tune with kind of the gaming sector, interesting things have been happening. One very popular manufacturer called, publisher, or whatever you like to call it, called Blizzard, announced something that pretty much just underwhelmed everyone who went to one of their recent gaming conventions. So they have a series of games where you play on a computer, and these are dedicated computer gaming players that show up to see what this big surprise is going to be at this event. You know, they travel and they have high hopes that there's going to be an expansion to this game that they love so much, and they want to see what the next chapter is and how it's going to be better. And their announcement was, we're going to take the game and put it onto a mobile platform. So basically, all of you who are used to playing your game on a computer now get to play on this, you know, which obviously went over like a lead balloon. So they've been feeling the fallout and allegedly have gone as far as removing comments from forums that they run, which are criticizing what they did. So there's a lot of hate right now, mainly for Activision, who kind of took over this from Blizzard, is my understanding. So it doesn't seem like there's a huge gaming market on phones yet, but there are some manufacturers out there who are trying to exploit, whatever opportunities may be there. This is from Asus. I hope it's Asus. I always say Asus. I've been told it's Asus. I don't know. But this is a pretty cool looking phone. Questionable as to how popular it's going to be, but has some interesting features I think that are worth taking a look at. So if you are a gamer, especially if you do gaming on a handset, you're probably very excited about this. So back when they made the Razer, they had high-end specs and a display that delivered a 120 hertz refresh rate. Now, I always wonder, if you're playing a game, how much attention are you really paying to the quality of the graphics? Usually you're concentrating on winning strategy. You want to be able to see clearly, but I'm not sure there's as much of an appreciation for how good the graphics look unless you're a spectator. So, being that that's becoming its own sport, I guess that's reasonable. This is built from scratch. It's not built on top of an existing Zenfone body style. So this is, all original right here. When it comes to the hardware, we have a Snapdragon 845 chip, which is pretty much the standard for any flagship phone at this point. It has been overclocked, however, to run faster, so you can get up to 2.9 gigahertz from a chip that typically would deliver 2.8. Doesn't sound like a lot, but I'm sure in gaming, every little bit of speed helps. It features a 6-inch AMOLED 90 hertz display, 2160 by 1080, 8 gigs of RAM, and a 4,000 milliamp hour battery. So this is just the specs. It is running on Android 8.1. I assume there will be an update for that in the near future. But let's get to the very interesting stuff. One, we have an AMOLED display, which is awesome. We already know that that is superior technology. So it's going to be very bright, high contrast ratios. But it does not have the 120 hertz refresh rate, which is interesting. It's going to be running at 90, and I'm not sure why, but they're saying that's still better than anything they have that they're competing against. Now, here's the cool thing. Let's take a look real quick here at the form factor. So we've got rounded edges and angles, copper highlighted speakers on the top and bottom, so you have 2 notches on it, or a notch and a chin, however you like to refer to that, and an Aero active cooler. So this phone has an attachment that plugs in through the USB-C at the bottom, and it has a fan or some sort of cooling mechanism that is meant to keep the phone stable while you're doing gaming and putting all that workload on your processor and your graphics. So that is kind of interesting, and the person who wrote this article said that it did very well. He played the phone for an extended period of time, and then when he turned the cooler on or attached it to the phone and turned it on, that it certainly made a difference in cooling. Also, we have some buttons here. They are called air triggers, and they are located on the right edge of the phone. And get this, when the phone is held horizontally, act as physical buttons for games and can be programmed to activate just about anything on the phone screen, which I think is something that every phone should have by now. You really should be able to customize anything. I know the Bixby button kind of comes to mind right off the top of your head, right? Because if it's a feature that you don't use, we could use that for something else. But customizable buttons, that I don't understand a couple of things. And I just had this conversation recently on any smartphone out there. Being able to customize your buttons, that should have happened a long time ago. I got another suggestion for anyone, for any manufacturer who listens to what I have to say, which is nobody. You should absolutely, by default, native support, be able to name the photos in your gallery. Nobody wants to go searching through and say, hey, let me show you a photo I took a month ago. It's called img00028.jpg. Nobody remembers that. It should be simple. You shouldn't have to have an application that you add onto your phone to name your photo galleries. I just don't get what were we thinking here? If you have a photo and you can name it, how much easier would your life be anytime you want to pull that up and show it to somebody? I don't know. I can't get it. So how much does this thing cost is my question, and I'm not sure that they even included that in the article. There's nothing about cost. So if anyone has that, feel free to jump in here. I don't know what the price tag is on this thing. I wonder if there are any legal repercussion. Oh, excuse me. I wonder if there are any legal repercussions for censoring reviews. Maybe a FTC violation. Are you talking about? Are you talking about Amazon? Because there really should be. You know, I used to shop on Amazon more. I mean, I still buy things there occasionally, but the fact that they go pick through their reviews and try to, yeah, there's something funny there. I mean, obviously nobody wants to see reviews that are manipulated or paid for or, you know, bought, but the fact is it's happening. I think I told you guys before, no matter what Amazon is doing, the what's the word I'm looking for? The solicitations that I get from vendors who say, you know, just go ahead and buy it, write the review, and then we'll take care of whatever. If you think that all of the reviews on Amazon or anywhere else, Yelp comes to mind as well. If you really think that those are legit, I'm sorry to break it to you, but there's a lot of funny stuff going on. So if you really want an accurate review of what's happening, talk to people that you know. You know, ask someone, hey, I'm in the market for something. What did you get? How did you like it? If you want to make $1 million, develop an app that only includes reviews from people that you know and trust. I guarantee it would fly. This thing about just the general public wrote a review and I'm basing my purchase decision on that, I got to tell you, those things have the signal to noise ratio with online reviews is ridiculous, and the legitimacy of them in the first place is crazy. And then when you go in and say, well, we're going to start determining which ones are legit and which ones are not, I would love to see your criteria or your secret algorithm that makes that decision. Anyways, I digress. On any platform, even on YouTube, you have to state that the video was free for review purposes. Yeah, and I think with that usually comes the idea that, oh, okay, so this person is automatically going to sort of favor this item and talk, you know, say good things about it. And I think at that point it really also comes down to the trust factor. You know, if I put something on my channel, I'm not going to try to make it sound like it's greater than it really is, but anyone who doesn't know me and comes across my channel is going to go, oh, this is a paid advertisement. Well, obviously we can't trust this person. And, you know, I understand that. If I saw a video review of anything from someone I didn't know and trust, then I'm going to question their sincerity, and you should too. You know, everyone should. And it really, you know, what happened to the good old days of like, try something out, see if you like it, and not read these manipulated online reviews? Well, I guess those days are gone. So let's go over here. This is one I think you'll be interested in. I hope that you are. I hope you'll kind of watch what's happening here. Remember, we've been talking a lot about net neutrality going away for about the last year. It's gone, at least for the moment. Hopefully we'll get something back on a state level that will pretty much, you know, convince all the big companies out there that they need to play along, because you can't do something in one state and do it different elsewhere. I'm happy that we finally did something about it here in California. But allegedly, according to Fortune and many other sources, Sprint has been slowing traffic to Microsoft's internet-based video chat service, Skype. Why should you care about this? Okay, because if you go down in the comments, the first thing you'll see is Skype. Nobody uses Skype. Who cares, right? And I think it's unfortunate that people have an attitude like that. You know, if I'm not using something, then I don't care if you're protecting the rights of the people who do use that service. This is a slippery slope. These things happen in small steps, and before you know it, it's gone from one side all the way to the other with incremental changes. This is the same thing that we see in government, we see in, you know, so many other places, and why so many people feel so, you know, are so staunch in their position when it comes to protecting something that they believe in. Because if you give a little, you know, if you give an inch, they will take a mile. And we've seen this throughout history. And, you know, if this is true, and I assume that it is, because there are so many sources saying the same thing, and they've got information back here backing it up. If Sprint now says, well, we're going to take advantage of the fact that we can do this, which they can legally, you know, there's nothing to stop them really. So far, at least we haven't seen anything go to court yet. And they can pick and choose what services you get to use. Obviously, the business-minded would say, well, let's pick and choose and allow them to use the services that we sell over anything that competes with that, which is not a good direction to go. You know, you don't want your ISP to decide what kind of information you get. Nobody really should decide that except for you. You should have access to information, equally. We shouldn't pick and choose and say, oh, well, if you believe in this, you can get it for free, and if you don't, then you have to pay for it. That's insane, or pay for something else. So it is unfortunate to see this happening already. We already heard about some other carriers who were throttling YouTube and Netflix, and I suspect that this is going to continue to get worse and worse until something goes before a court that can say, you know what, this is not okay, we need to change it. And really, again, because of the lack of net neutrality, this is something they're not going to have a hard time with, by saying, hey, we provide your electricity to you. Think of it this way. If anyone who has any doubts in their mind about how net neutrality works, if your internet service provider can pick and choose what you have access to, it would be similar to your utility company who provides electricity in your house saying, we'll let you use electricity for your lights, but you can't use it for your refrigerator. Okay, how does that make sense? You're paying for the service. What you do with it really should be up to you. And when we talk about information and access to information, we're really, getting very close to a situation that is going to involve censorship to an extent. So, whatever is in their best interest or their advertisers' best interests can be put way ahead of what is in the consumer's best interest. And that's the scary thing about this. So I really hope that goes away. Or something happens to change this. But it's sad to see, especially from Sprint. Every company has their challenges. Sprint certainly has theirs. And if they want to put themselves in the middle of this spotlight, I don't think that that's good for business. But if you have Sprint, you should call them up, write them a letter, email, and tell them what you think about this. At least they should be aware of it. You should also call your legislator and tell them it's not okay, unless you like it. It's up to you, of course. Let's see. I gave up on one reseller who did not reply to emails, and Amazon CSRs would do nothing other than tell me to email the reseller. So you gave up, like you didn't get your money back, or what? Oh, a reseller of Apple. Okay, yeah, I'm going to get to that right after this, actually. Let's see. I don't know what to say. Okay, whoever Cellutronic, if you want to promote your channel, contact me. I don't know if you guys are seeing this. Yeah, so I have a comment that's held, and I don't mind people promoting their channel if it's something that other people are interested in. But if you come into the chat and spam it on here, it's not going to show up. So let me know what you have, and if it's something that my viewers would enjoy. I love to promote smaller channels, Not that mine's huge, but there are channels smaller than mine. And if they have helpful information, I'm more than happy to point people to them. But spamming the chat's not a good way to do it. Sprint owns several prepaid companies. Well, Harvey, I know that they resell their service on a lot of companies. Do they also own those companies? It would make sense if they did, but that's interesting. Okay, so let's talk about this because I know you guys are interested. This is crazy if you ask me. Amazon and Apple partner on e-commerce in a blow to third-party resellers. I'll cut right to it. Actually, it summarizes here in the top paragraph. Amazon struck a deal with Apple to expand the selections of products coming directly from Apple on its site, blah, blah, blah. The deal will go into effect later this year. The deal does not include the HomePod. Okay, sorry, that wasn't the area that I wanted to read here. But long story short, what is going to happen is that on January 4th of next year, if you are not an authorized Apple seller, which I'm sure there's a hefty fee. I think, let's see, who put it on there? Is that Greg? Someone told me what the cost was. $2.5 million. Okay, so Greg said if you don't sell, I'm assuming, or buy $2.5 million per quarter from recyclers, you won't be able to sell an Apple product on Amazon. That is crazy. So you buy something, you think you own it, and as we've learned with terms and conditions and end user license agreements, you don't own much. You kind of own the hardware, at least historically. You buy a phone, you buy a computer, you buy a tablet, you own the hardware. You don't own the operating system. You're not allowed to alter it, backwards engineer it, resell it, anything like that. Okay, that fair, I'm okay with that. I think you should be able to modify it for your own use in whatever way you choose to, but I'm going to let that one go. But to tell someone that you buy a phone, you are no longer allowed to sell that on their platform. Amazon, I really want to like you, but you do so many things that are not friendly to your customers. And some would say maybe not very friendly to your employees either. Why? Why would you? That's not okay. I mean, maybe it's just not the platform for people who want to resell Apple devices. I assume this is going to help eBay if Amazon locks out everyone who's not doing 2.5 million a quarter. Yeah, okay, I see what you're talking about here, Greg. Amazon reported, oh no, that's something else. Amazon reported 2.5 billion in revenue in its other category, which consists mostly of advertising. Okay. It's supposed to increase their inventory. Apple customers are known to be loyal. That's an understatement. And the deal provides them with an added convenience if they are purchasing authorized items. Okay, so why not have authorized resellers and then other people who are not authorized resellers? You see what's happening here. If you told me that in order to be an authorized seller and that I could get a special little star by my name and I can be backed up by some sort of warranty program or whatever, and this is the advantage that a customer or consumer has from buying their products from that party, I understand. But to say that you are not allowed to compete with that, you are not part of that program, therefore you're not allowed to sell that little thing because it has an Apple on it. Come on, this is getting ridiculous. And yes, I mean, I guess the answer is if you don't want to buy Apple, you don't have to buy Apple, and if you don't want to buy from Amazon, same thing. But let's look at what's really going to happen. Apple and Amazon are going to, to an extent, arguably monopolize the resale of Apple products. How is that good for the consumer? First thing that's going to happen is consistent pricing, and you don't have to like that pricing. It just has to be whatever they agree is going to be acceptable for their profit margin. So yeah, I'm thinking go back to eBay on this one. That's crazy. The reseller was a laptop battery I was thinking of buying and had a warranty coverage before I bought it. Does it also include lightning cables? Oh, good question. That one I don't know, Harvey. I don't think so. I believe this is limited to devices. So I wouldn't expect the cables to be affected. Although I got to tell you, it's crazy to me that when we look at something like a lightning cable, you can buy, I shouldn't mention any brand names here. You can buy a made for iPhone lightning cable for less than an OEM lightning cable, and it will be more durable, longer lasting, and just makes a lot more sense rather than going and buying the one that's manufactured by Apple. So if they eliminated those, well, I guess, the answer is obvious. If they can do this, and it looks like they can, then you don't, if you're not happy with it, either don't buy Apple or don't buy from Amazon. At least you still have other choices. If Apple comes in and tries to do something where they prevent people from selling any Apple products if they're not authorized anywhere, like if you can imagine a future where Apple says, you know what, you cannot sell anything on eBay, you cannot sell anything on Swappa, you can't sell any of our products unless you're an authorized dealer, that's going to be bad for everyone but Apple. So that's why I say when we look at this kind of stuff, it's easy to say, okay, well, if you don't like it, you don't have to choose that. But if you take one tiny step and people accept that and say, well, that's okay, it is what it is, and then next week they do something different, and then a couple months later they expand it, and eventually we get to a point where these small changes become dramatic over a time period. They just don't happen all at once, and that's when we see a backlash. People only respond when they see a drastic change happen suddenly. And you can apply this to just about any situation in life, especially politics. You do a little thing and people go, we don't like that, but big deal, it doesn't affect me. Or, it affects someone I know, but not me personally. Or, okay, it only affects me, but nobody else, and nobody's going to help me argue against this. And little by little, you chip away at things that people take for granted, and many of us would say are we have a right to. So this is discouraging, I think, both at least for the image of Apple and Amazon. So I hope we see more people saying, no, this is not okay. There's already a list of vendors who have products that you cannot resell on Amazon, by the way. I was dealing with a tool company, and it's a crazy thing because I bought the tools from them wholesale, put them out on Amazon to sell, and then they contacted me through Amazon threatening legal action because I was selling the tools that I bought from them wholesale in order to resell on Amazon. So I got back to them and I said, look, you guys, this is your stuff. I mean, they accused me of selling counterfeits or something like that. So I contacted them. I said, look, this is your stuff. I bought it from you. Here's the invoice. And the guy says, oh, okay, no problem. Go ahead and sell it. It's all right. Just don't use the same UPC that we used on the same item. And I said, well, I can't create a new item with the same UPC because it's already on there, and that goes against Amazon's terms and conditions also. And they said, well, we're okay with you selling it. You just can't use the UPC code. So what do you do in that situation? You have to generate your own. I'm like, okay, I'm done with you guys. I have a channel that's all about repairing phones, and I'm trying to help you sell tools to repair phones. And you're saying you don't want any competition. Goodbye. I guess we're done at that point. So I've sent a few of those out as gifts as well. Let's see. You cannot sell refurbished MacBooks on Amazon in 2 months unless you're an Apple. Yeah, right. In order to be authorized, you have to have 2.5 million per quarter of use. Okay. Yeah. Well, obviously that's not most of us, right? I can't remember the name of the guy that refurbs MacBooks on Amazon. Just more or less told your business is gone. Wow, yeah, this is unfortunate, and we keep seeing this. More things that are directed at smaller businesses. That don't help them and that do help large corporations to become bigger and to just kind of absorb, the smaller ones. This is not good. If you want competition in a marketplace, you don't want to eliminate all of the people, all of the smaller people who are running operations that have, 5, 10, or 50 employees. When you have these mega corporations that come in and just say, okay, we're taking control of everything, you guys are done. So you can come work for us, but as far as your business model, yeah, it's not going to work anymore. Very discouraging. Buying UPC codes can be very costly. Yeah, that was my assumption. I think I looked into it at one point, Harvey. And plus, what am I going to do? Put a UPC code over their old one? That's too much trouble. If I was selling $1,000 items, maybe, but for a $10 screwdriver, yeah, not going to happen. What a stupid vendor. UPC codes are item specific. Yeah, I tried to have this conversation with them, and between that and the broken English, I just gave up too. I'm like, yeah, let's move on to the next person, because they're not helping. So this is discouraging. I hope something changes. And here they're calling Amazon and Apple teaming up could be a win for both companies. Yeah, exactly. That is who it's going to win for. So we'll probably have some strict price controls, at least on Amazon, when it comes to iPhones in the future. And that doesn't mean you get a deal. That means that you have to pay a certain amount or you can't buy it through them. But whatever, at least for the time being, we have other options. And I hope that remains to be the case. All right, so we have Samsung's new foldable phone. I don't know if you guys watched the video, saw the pictures. They're saying this thing is going to could cost over $1,700. And, while it sounds like a shameless money grab, or, you look at all these new phones and Apple breaking the $1,000 mark last year and all this stuff, I think it's kind of ridiculous. And at the same time, what do you do? I mean, this is a free market. This is free market capitalism. So if you have a product, you should certainly be able to sell it for whatever you choose to, unless it is something that's regulated, I guess like a utility or telecommunications device. But we still have competition, at least at this point, for most vendors. So I think that Samsung and Apple, from a legal standpoint, can probably get away with pricing their devices at whatever they want them to be. And if you have a loyal customer base who will pay whatever the price is for your equipment, they might complain about it a little bit, but they continue to buy these devices for whatever you're asking them to. Why would you stop? Why would you not continue to increase the price tag? And we've seen cell phones go from something that people kind of carried around in case of emergencies to a point where people started to use them for business, to today where people rely on these things to the point where they would probably leave their child unattended before they would leave their phone laying around where someone might have access to it. So something that is that important to a person, if there's no competition that offers an alternative for a lower price or a more practical price, then this is going to keep happening. It does not surprise me at all. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying that this is the future we can look forward to. These manufacturers understand how important your phone is, So they are going to push this price point as high as they possibly can until they see that their sales are dropping off or customers say, yeah, I'm leaving to go to another brand. So Samsung, Apple, I wouldn't expect anything to change here. We did see, I can't show the video unfortunately, but we saw a video of a folding Galaxy phone. Now remember, they're not the first one. There was another company that did it before Samsung, and I believe, I may be wrong, but I believe that's why they rushed to put this announcement out and to show this dimly lit video of the phone being operated. At the same time, I got a question, like, what is the big deal about a foldable phone? It's not so dramatic that you take a tablet and fold it down to the size of something that can fit in your pocket. It doesn't really make the thing so much bigger that you say, oh wow, I've just like got this huge image now and I can fold it down to a smaller one. But in any case, the Infinity Flex has been unveiled less than a week ago, it says. And let's see, it will be dubbed the Galaxy F. Okay. Along with the Galaxy Y, and will debut in March after a month, around a month after 5G enabled S10, the 5G enabled S10, but it won't come cheap. Yonhap believes the bendy phone will be an exclusive device that could cost as much as $1,770, though it adds the company hasn't settled on a price. And I really think that, you know, especially for something like this with a foldable, I mean, we know that every new form factor has its issues, but to come out with a phone that is so dramatically different, I'd say this is going to be an early adopter, lots of extra money to spend customer base, because really, do you want to risk $2,000 on something that is not proven yet? I would personally, even if I had the money, I would be highly skeptical of buying into something this early, you know, when it's going to be the first iteration of a foldable phone for any particular company. Let's see. It looks like a regular smartphone until it unfolds like a book into a 7.3-inch display. See, it's not like it's huge. I mean, it's big, but it's not a massive display here. And along with that, it uses a protective layer and an advanced polymer that's both flexible and tough. And here's the other question. If you have a screen that bends, obviously it cannot be made out of glass. So what happens? I would expect to see these things get scratched over time. And that's going to be a tricky one, because when a customer comes in and says, hey, can you take the scratches out of my foldable, you know, $1,700 phone? If and when that happens, yeah, I'm not touching that without at least the replacement cost of the display, which we have yet to see what that's going to cost, and if it can even be repaired by a third party. That's going to be an interesting one. So I don't know if you were fixing phones and someone brought you an Infinity Flex, I would have to assume that the screen makes up a significant percentage of the cost on this thing. So if it's $1,770 for the whole phone, you're probably going to look at buying a replacement when they become available. That's probably going to be at least half of that cost. You're going to be somewhere around, I'm going to guess here, you're going to be somewhere around $900, maybe up to around $1,200 just for the replacement display. So I guess at that point you buy another phone. But man, could you imagine? That'd be a disappointing sound to hear if this thing hits the floor and you pick it up and there is no display anymore. And it's AMOLED, so if these are like any other AMOLEDs, we know that they don't respond to pressure very well. So any amount of shock on this thing, man, I would be concerned. Buy the insurance on this one for sure, if it's available. As long as it's not like $500 or something like that, which it should be. You know, I mean, look at Apple. If you buy insurance on an iPhone XS Max, what's that going to cost you? Like $300-400, plus you get to pay a deductible for your Apple Care. Well, we'll see. Man, Stan Lee died today. That's unfortunate. See that? These people dying is depressing. Well, there is one other thing here. I wish I could. I will try to end this on a positive note, but let's move on here. So we had this incredible deal for Foxconn to build a plant in Wisconsin. We're going to bring lots of jobs to the U.S., and we could finally start seeing Apple products manufactured stateside, especially because we've got tariffs with China and trade issues and everything else going on. Well, it looks like that was probably just another way to get people to vote. And in this case, it didn't work because Scott Walker is not the governor, or won't be the governor of Wisconsin after January of next year. So it says Trump's incredible Foxconn deal turns out to be another massive con job. If you want to jump right to the important points here, this deal is going to cost taxpayers 4.5 billion in subsidies that are going to be paid to help build this plant. So right off the top, it's not like Foxconn comes in with money from Taiwan and builds out a manufacturing here and everybody's happy and it brings lots of money to the community. No, because of the way the laws work over here, they're going to have to subsidize that with taking money from taxpayers in order to help build out the plant first. Okay, that's number one. Let's dig into this a little bit deeper. Foxconn, which generated $158 billion in revenue last year, will receive much of this subsidy in direct cash payments from taxpayers, the largest subsidy given to a foreign corporation in U.S. history. If Wisconsinites, it goes on to say, if Wisconsinites ever see a return on their investment, it will be in 2042 at the earliest. So mark that date on your calendar, according to analysis from the Nonpartisan Legislative Fiscal Bureau. Good old Scott Pruitt did Foxconn a solid by overruling the objections of his staff to grant most of southeastern Wisconsin an exemption from limits on smog pollution. Oh, so you get to go ahead and make that smog anyways because we're going to make an exception for you. We're going to help pay for it by taking taxpayer money so the plant can poison the air to its heart's delight. Okay, then that's the good news. Let's get to the bad part here. The company has been granted special court privileges by the state legislature, like the ability to make numerous appeals of unfavorable rulings in a single case, and here's the capper. The town's village board of trustees has been using eminent domain to expel obstinate homeowners, forcing them to sell at a price determined by the village. So if you're a homeowner that will be in this area of effect from this new plant being built, you don't get to decide how much you're selling your home for. This is considered economic growth, and we have special laws that say you need to get out, and we're going to tell you how much we pay you for your house. So it just gets better and better. They've been able to do so by decreeing the 2,800 acre area around the plant blighted, a designation typically reserved for a property that is detrimental to public health, safety, or welfare. So if you live in an area where this plant is being built, you are a problem, your house is a problem, and you need to move because you are, quote, detrimental to the public health, safety, or welfare. But which the board has extended to include property that impairs or arrests the sound growth of the community. So I don't see the bright side of this. There was one more thing here. There was one more thing about the employees here. When the U.S. economy is already minting some 200,000 jobs a month, it was designed to create 13,000 new middle-class manufacturing jobs, except Foxconn will actually create far fewer jobs, and most of them will not be of the blue-collar variety. And as I remember here, a lot of these employees will not be U.S. citizens. I believe that's in here somewhere. Where are we at here? Foxconn is committed to our investment of at least $10 billion in our state-of-the-art Wisconsin Science Facility, Valley Science and Technology Park in Wisconsin, blah, blah, blah. Let's see if I can find it here. There was a statement also about how they won't be creating as many jobs for Americans as they initially thought. So all of this overall does not seem like a good thing. The worst, I think, being that they're going to kick people out of their homes, make them sell for less than they're worth, and then use tax money to pay to subsidize building this plant. And you won't see a return on this until 2042. Talk about planning for the future there. Let's see. It's not the politicians' money, so no worry there. Yeah, that's kind of the mantra nowadays, right? Maybe they're testing out what will happen when Trump forces people to sell homes to build his wall. Oh, well, that's... guys, I try so hard to stay off of that stuff, but let me just say on this Veterans Day that thank you to all the veterans out there, and at the same time to the active service people who are affected by this crazy thing about going to the border like a month ahead of, or 2 months ahead of time before this caravan thing is going on, so that you get to miss Thanksgiving with your family. My apologies. We certainly should not be asking people to do that. We definitely appreciate your military service, and I don't know, this country has lost its mind. So that's all I'm going to say about that one. So I've got a whole bunch of repairs on my desktop today, folks. I would love to just hang out. In fact, I am going to hang out at least for a few more minutes in the chat. That is most of the stuff that I wanted to cover today. If you have any questions or comments, please put them in the chat section. And like I said, after I end the stream, I'll be hanging out there for a minute. I've got some new videos coming out soon. Thursday, we will be doing an unboxing from Harvey. So that'll be cool to see what Harvey sent in. And hopefully we'll do some more live repairs, assuming everything cooperates. I think I'm just going to have to break down and buy a whole bunch of expensive stuff to make this work. So I don't know. I need to do a GoFundMe or a Patreon or a crowdfund or whatever you call that kind of stuff, because man, these things add up. It's crazy. You know, you buy a camera, you think it's going to do this, and then you need a capture card, and then you need lighting, and then you need, it never ends. But if there are any vendors out there who would like for me to demonstrate, you know what I think I'm going to do? I'm going to contact NVIDIA and all these other companies and say, hey, I do live streams. What would you like me to review that will help me achieve my goals of being able to do better live streams in the future? You think they go for that? Maybe. If I was a gaming channel, I bet they would. Not too many people worried about phone repairs, unfortunately, except for us. Just us, y'all. Well, thanks everyone for joining me. I am going to end the stream here shortly, and I will be back on Thursday at 6 p.m. And by the way, Nate has a surprise in store for us in the near future. I am looking forward to that. I don't even know exactly what it is, but it is going to be interesting. And if you didn't see the 9/11 conspiracy theory live stream that I did with Nate, it has over 10,000 views now, and there's a lot of people, you know, kind of interacting with that content there. And I thought it was a fun one-time deal to do, but we certainly have to do, oh, and then we did the alien conspiracy theory one, so we'll have something like that coming up within the next few weeks. Gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited and looking forward to it. Again, thank you so much for joining me. Have a great week, and I will check you out next time.